Yeah. Let's end the music. All right. Hope everybody had a great weekend. Welcome back inside the numbers with the People's Pundit. I'm your host, Rich Barris, the People's Pundit. You know, we can always get these Sunday shows, on Sunday. And then I want to react to them all Sunday and then kind of dumb it down. And I think let's just go over a poll, spend a lot of time going over a poll that I actually think has a lot of like interesting stuff in it. There are several, obviously, that have come out since Friday, but I really want to spend the time doing that instead of running clips like we have been. And then there's some economic stuff I want to show you, which I thought was very, very, very important to this election. All right. Don't forget, if you like the videos, like them, share them far and wide. If you're on YouTube, be a dear. Go mosey on over to Rumble, subscribe there, and like the video there as well. All of that really takes, 30 seconds of your time. It really does make a huge difference for us. So we appreciate when you guys do that. But of course, the best place to follow along with what we're doing is right there, peoplespundit.locals.com. peoplespundit.locals.com. Woof. It was a doozy this weekend. A doozy. Competition weekend, super late night. Oof. All right. So trials going back. We know back in court today, man, this judge is corrupt. Can I just start with that? This is such a crooked judge. I'm going to play a clip from Trump. I'm going to let it roll for a little bit. But then we'll get down to business. What a crook. I mean, honestly, I don't understand how you could be even like, if you're politically opposed to somebody, I'm going to keep beating this like a dead horse. Even if it was Bernie Sanders, Barack Obama, I mean, I don't care. Throw anybody in there. There's nobody you should ever hate so much that you're willing to throw the entire system out with it. This guy is a crook. His daughter is uniquely invested in this trial and getting Joe Biden reelected. It's incredible. Trump's attorneys couldn't even enter into evidence today, evidence that Michael Cohen is a liar. I mean, we already know he's a liar, but I mean, concrete, stone cold evidence. He is not really letting. Every defendant deserves to be able to put on their defense, all right? And submit exculpatory evidence to the jury. And this jury is not being allowed to see or hear exculpatory evidence. Of course, even if there is a conviction here, this conviction will be thrown out. This is, in case you haven't noticed, voices on the right and left, both. There's a growing chorus of voices denouncing this trial. It is, I have said a million times, very important that people show up with Donald Trump of all stripes, all colors, all creeds, all political persuasions, and be there in support and call this trial what it is, which is an absolute sham. It's a disgrace to the American justice system, even though our justice system is already disgraced itself. It's a further stain beyond anything we have seen before. And here's the truth. People keep saying, and now it's like we spent a little bit of time last week explaining this is why Donald Trump is doing better with non-whites, economic, but also they have made him relatable to non-whites because so much of this crap in our justice system has been going on for a long time to normal people. And so nobody ever talks about it on the news, right? Nobody ever discusses it. But people, certain people especially out there, have been the victims of this corrupt system for a long time. And it's almost like now it's time for them to be heard, Let's play this clip. This is from Fox and Friends this morning. I just want to roll with it. You'll have to deal with Brian Kilmeade's voice for about 30 seconds or so.
Still in the chair, Michael Cohen.
Campaigning. As you know, I was supposed to be in a very different state this morning, and the judge actually decided to call it early. And yet, it looks like we're going to have a very big gap between days, and it's going to be determined right now in court. But we're here about an hour early today. I was supposed to be making a speech for political purposes. I'm not allowed to have anything to do with politics because I'm sitting in a very freezing cold courtroom for the last 4 weeks. It's very unfair. They have no case. They have no crime. It's been determined by everybody, every legal scholar. New York Post editorial board today. Trump prosecution wind down. It's always been a witch hunt. with a prosecution winding down in Donald Trump's Manhattan case, we have to ask, in the immortal words of Peggy Lee, is that all there is? That's the New York Post editorial board. It's become utterly apparent, if that wasn't seen already, that the key elements to any prosecution is missing. The key element is missing, and it says, what's missing? A crime. There's no crime. You know, they go through all this stuff, and there was nothing done wrong. NDAs are perfect. And by the way, legal expenses. You know, we paid a legal expense. You know what it's marked down in the book says? A legal expense. Again, it's not marked down as construction. It's not marked down as sheetrock and cinder block. It's marked down as legal expense. You have a lawyer. You pay him a legal expense, and it's covered in the book as legal expense. I had nothing to do with it. A bookkeeper put it down as a legal expense. This is why I'm here, because we called it a legal expense, a payment to a lawyer.
Okay, let me just say this. Speaking of expenses, today on the stand in front of Todd Blanchard, which is Trump's attorney, Michael Cohen admitted to stealing this money from the Trump organization. Oh my God. He admitted on the stand that he stole money from the Trump organization. And what they wanted to submit into evidence is that this was done without Trump's knowledge. And they can't. And they cannot do it. It's truly unbelievable. I don't know that there's ever been another excuse me, that's the other clip coming up. I don't know that there's ever been another trial with a high profile or whatever. You know, I guess it would have to be high profile, where we saw what we're seeing in this, you know, this trial, which is that somebody is on trial for what appears to be other people's crimes, and they're not allowed to defend themselves, showing the behavior of those other people. And those people are witnesses against the defendant. I mean, folks, this is crazy. This is nuts. They get away with doing stuff like this to Donald Trump. Do you have any idea the rough shot they're going to run all over the rest of us? You know, who was it? Bill O'Reilly, I think. Oh, he's going to, you know what? Let me shut up. He's going to read it, actually.
Jonathan Turley, even liberal experts have continued to express doubt over where's the crime. Andy McCarthy.
Well, that's the way he's reading that, by the way, off of a news report. You follow Jonathan Turley on Twitter, and you're going to see it clear as day. He's going to say there's no crime. There is no crime. Believable.
Let's stick with the relevant, undisputed facts of the case. Mershon should dismiss this case. He should dismiss this case immediately. Bragg's evidence is woefully inadequate. This case should be dismissed. It should have never been brought. And the judge is highly conflicted. He's a corrupt judge. He's highly conflicted. He's totally corrupt. And he's interfering with an election. Greg Jarrett, there is no credible evidence of a crime. Bragg's case against the accused is beyond anemic. It is an audacious, corruption of the legal process, and a very dangerous one. No fair or competent judge dedicated to upholding justice would have ever allowed such a case. It's a train wreck.
And let me just bring this up real quick, actually, though. Of course, we are going to have to talk about this in this new poll out I want to go over. But they don't care about any of that. They don't care about any of that. The long-term consequences, the short-term consequences, the midterm consequences, they don't give a damn. All they want is to be able to call Donald Trump a felon because they think that that's going to help them. He's a felon. You can't elect a felon. You can't vote for a felon. You can't vote for a felon. You're going to hear this a million times. And we have some new data on that. You know how I feel about the question? I don't like it. It's a bias-injecting question. It's like, would you vote for Joe Biden if he took bribes from China? Would you vote for Joe Biden if he took bribes from Ukraine? Would you vote for Joe Biden if he was impeached for taking bribes from Ukraine, China, and Romania? I mean, they know the answer that they're supposed to give when you ask a question like that. And it doesn't give the full totality of it because it will be through appeal. So Trump is going to argue that this is, a sham. And I mean, we have tons and tons of clips from focus groups, from voters of all stripes. They just don't seem to care about it. Yet the polls show that it does take some of his lead off, and you're going to see that in a bit. But ironically, is it even enough to get Joe Biden the Electoral College at this point? That's going to be the question we're going to ask in a bit, and we're going to go over it. All right, let's roll it.
It goes on and on and on. No judge except this one would allow this case to continue. He's corrupt. Alan Dershowitz, who I think is standing right behind me. We have many people from Congress, senators, congressmen. We've had them here all week.
Yeah, but it's growing. This is something I've been noticing because Sean Parnell and I were talking about this, how important optically and then also just for the system it is to have Trump with these even rather mainstream voices. Of course, it's better for him that there's people on both sides. There have been now. There have been people that have been showing up for Trump. That number is growing. It's not just the usual voices anymore. And there have been comments, in the media. He's got LT at rallies calling it a sham. The guy's a Democrat. I mean, it's so important that he has that if he's going to make his case.
And I say, don't come. And by the way, outside looks like it's supposed to be Fort Knox. There are more police than I've ever seen anywhere, because they don't want to have anybody come down. There's not a civilian within 3 blocks of the courthouse. But at Columbia University, you can set up a tent and burn down the doors right opposite the front entrance. It's a disgrace. Alan Dershowitz Trump trial is a stupendous legal catastrophe. All Americans, regardless of political affiliation, should be appalled at this selective prosecution. Today, it's a great term. I should use it now. I will. Selective prosecution. This all comes from the White House. It all comes from the DOJ in the White House. Take a look who's in the room. This all comes from the DOJ in the White House. It's an attack on...
And it does. We have to acknowledge that for a second, which is unbelievable that the media does not. We have to acknowledge that Joe Biden sent his number 3. These people spend a career, folks, building up their bona fides at Main Justice. You don't leave the number 3 spot at Main Justice to go work and some obscure position with Alvin Bragg in New York City, with a district attorney in New York City. You don't do that. It doesn't make any professional career sense whatsoever unless you were directed to do that by the president and that you are given a quid pro quo. In other words, they will take care of him when this is over. Now, what if he loses for a second? I wonder what's going to happen. He must have said, listen, I need this, whatever they promised him. He must have said, I need this, win or lose, because God, if he loses, he'll be a laughing stock. I mean, you couldn't prosecute him in one of the most liberal districts in the country where the hatred for Trump is supposed to be palpable. You couldn't get, we'll see. But I'm telling you that at this point, I don't know how anybody could call themselves a reporter and not, every time you talk about this trial, bring up the fact that this is directed by the president. We already know the case with the Presidential Records Act. While the president was himself under investigation for mishandling classified information, has a role with Jack Smith in directing Jack Smith's prosecution of the Presidential Records Act. There's now documented black and white hard evidence of this. We don't need hard evidence at this point, even though it will come out. We don't need hard evidence at this point to know that the Alvin Bragg case was also a product of Joe Biden's White House, who, by the way, Joe Biden, is the person who suggested to use the Logan Act to go after Michael Flynn when Barack Obama was still president. Thank you, Barack Obama, for keeping copious notes. It was Joe Biden's idea to use some obscure law that has nothing to do with that. By the way, it was done in the early days of the Republic and nobody was prosecuted with it. It is irrelevant now. It's just an irrelevant law. It's not applicable at this point in our history anymore. But this is what's in this guy's blood. Stasi, it runs through his veins. Any reporter who doesn't bring that up is not a credible reporter.
Biden, who's mentally unfit. He's mentally unfit to be the president of this country. It's an attack on his political opponent. That's all it is. All of the things you saw over the last 4 weeks, most of it should have never even been brought up. And then on top of that, there's no crime. And we go on day after day, and I tell Iowa, I'm sorry, I won't be able to make it. I tell New Hampshire, sorry, I won't be able to make it. I'm sitting in an icebox all day.
Yeah.
Today, this is Alan Dershowitz. Today, the target is Trump. Tomorrow, it may be a Democrat.
Yep.
After that, you and me. Who knows?
Yep.
The criminal justice system is on trial in New York. It's making New York State. I love this state. I love the people of this state. I'm running hard in New York. I think we're going to win New York. But it's making New York and our judicial system. And then I had Judge Kaplan, who's horrible, the most biased people. And they gave me 3 judges. And Doran, he doesn't know the first thing about finance. It's supposed to be a trial in front of the complex divisions of complex situations. He had no idea. He said Mar-a-Lago's worth $18 million. When it's worth $1 billion to $1.5 billion, it's worth 100 times the amount, 50 to 100 times. All corrupt, and it's all coordinated. It's a shame. Mark Levin, John Adams said liberty without virtue is tyranny. We have tyranny right now. We have tyranny right now, and we're disgracing our New York court system. And we're really disgracing our country, because all over the world they're watching. Bill O'Reilly, Donald Trump and his family do not deserve this blatant miscarriage of justice. Don't applaud the destruction of justice, because you may be on the receiving end someday. That's Bill O'Reilly and hundreds of others. I don't think there's one person that says that this trial is legitimate.
As we played various clips of last week, even the likes of Ari Melber, who is hands down, a get Trump person, right? Anderson Cooper, Mr. Biltmore himself, Alyssa Farah, who is a Trump backstabber, she's a traitor. I mean, that's all there is to it. I don't care a betrayer. Let's call her a betrayer. And she's a Judas. You demonstrate yourself to be a Judas to anyone. I don't care if it's someone I like or dislike. I'll never trust you again. Nothing that comes out of your mouth, it will ever mean anything to me. I don't know that there is one person that's out there cheerleading for this trial. There's one person out there joking about it, and that's Joe Biden. Funny, Robert Costa and others in the media who had a meltdown over Mike Johnson addressing the trial. Funny he had such a meltdown over Mike Johnson, has nothing to say about now. At least I've counted, and no less than 4 times Joe Biden has made public statements mocking and joking about Donald Trump being prosecuted. It's so out in the open. It's so blatant. It's just it's a blatant middle finger to the American public. It's a blatant middle finger. I know, and I don't care. Go yourself. That's what this is. And there's nothing. So it's Joe Biden basically saying there's nothing you can do about it. Ha, ha, ha. But there is something they can do about it. They can vote. They can vote his ass out of office for the man that he tried to put in jail for the rest of his natural life.
And everybody's talking about the judge. The judge shouldn't be doing this trial. He's totally conflicted. This is the most conflicted judge probably in the history of the court system.
And for those who don't know, let me spell it out for you, because it is very, very bad. The judge himself is a Biden donor. His daughter has been working at a firm that is trying to get Joe Biden reelected. She has been raising money off of her daddy being the judge, hand over fist. It is, and their social media is unbelievably biased against Trump. They are all Trump haters. It's like a family of Trump haters. It's unbelievable. in a justice system where there's supposed to be recusals with a hint, a whiff of impropriety, an appearance of impropriety, that this judge is allowed to sit on this bench. It is a total and utter disgrace. But then again, Robert Mueller very clearly had a conflict of interest. Forget about the appearance of one. He had one. And everyone, in the beginning at least, stupidly praised Robert Mueller as like a stand-up guy. Who does he turn the reins to? One of the biggest scumbags that the federal prosecution ranks have ever seen, Andrew Weissman, who has the notorious and infamous label of being only one of a few who have been unanimously rebuked and have had their convictions in major cases overturned. And of course, that is the Arthur Anderson case. It is, I mean, that was bad enough. This is truly incredible. Truly incredible.
And everyone knows what I'm talking about. Thank you very much.
All right, so that's it. That's good enough with that clip. They say, Mr. Trump, are you going to testify? Mr. Trump, are you going to testify? Come on, give me a break. I mean, this is what you have to say. Again, then a little bit later, they go into the courtroom. Michael Cohen gets back up on the stand, the defense crossing him, and he admits to stealing from the Trump organization. I kid you not. He just admitted to yet another federal crime on the witness stand. Robert Barnes was just tweeting about it too, like, oh my God. There's a legal word for this. This is a federal crime, and he just admitted to it on the witness stand, to committing a federal crime. Okay, so here's CNN reacting to that.
The fact that it was minimized in that way by the prosecution, I think it presents a very good opportunity in closing for, they knew about this, they minimized it. The prosecutor misled this jury. That's what I would argue.
Are you allowed to say that?
Yes, sir. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. This is what had happened to the prosecution in the Casey Anthony trial. They got caught misleading the jury, and the jury never believed them again. Once you lose the trust of the jury, it's a real problem. So listen, Bragg's office has got to rely here on ideological possession, and that's the only way he's going to get a conviction. This case has fallen apart, completely apart. And I don't know any other way that they could turn this around, given that we're winding down now here, even leaving the exculpatory evidence out. Michael Cohen was such a bad witness, and worse than Stormy Daniels, and she did bad herself. All right, with the joke, the attempted comedy on the stand that the jury did not like, the jury did not appreciate it, and now we have this with Michael Cohen. I mean, I didn't think it would be difficult to beat Stormy Daniels as a shitty witness. I mean, really difficult to beat Stormy Daniels, and yet Michael Cohen has done that. It is truly remarkable how this man, pulls this stuff out of the hat. It's unbelievable how he takes this adversity and not only handles it, but appears to have won. He appears to have. I mean, look, they're hopeful. I heard one of his defense attorneys on Friday, it was Friday, saying that they honestly, and I don't know if this is smart to say out loud, but they said it out loud. So, I mean, it's not me blowing it up, that they're not really that worried about a conviction at this point, because the judge and the prosecution have misbehaved so badly in this case that there is no way this will not be overturned on appeal. There's just no way. And of course, they will have to ask for a speedy appeal here. If they even get a conviction at this point, that's what I'm saying. Like, I don't know how anybody in good conscience could vote to convict Donald Trump after this case. Like, if they had a case, guys, if they had brought charges, and this is the thing, man, this hurt them politically. Alvin Bragg's case should not have been the first case brought. Now this is playing out this way. It turned out to be, after 91 felony charges, 91 felony indictments. How many times did you hear that? After that, Alvin Bragg going first put a big damper on the whole damn thing, because it's such a ludicrous case that Jack Smith, Fani Willis, who they were pissed, by the way. Apparently, Jack Smith was mad Fani Willis brought her own case. They knew that optically it would not go well. But Alvin Bragg was directed, we know, by the president to do this. So apparently he thought this would be a good idea. They miscalculated, and they miscalculated badly, because this case, as you will see with the polling, isn't really on anyone's radar. The only case that polls somewhat badly for Donald Trump is the RICO case. And that is because of the word RICO in the damn wording of the poll. You're acute that people think RICO, they think El Chapo. People think RICO, they think John Gotti. People think RICO, they think the Five Families. They don't think about stuff like this. And with Alvin Bragg going first, somehow ending up being the Democrats' best chance to get a conviction against Donald Trump before the election, it's just unbelievable. It's truly unbelievable. All right. 12:30. We got to take a break. When we come back, there's so much more to talk about. All right. You guys know, I've talked about it before. I was going to read you. I just don't think we have an article. But this article in the Daily Mail about this, which is really incredible. The FDA chief Robert Khalif, bird flu pandemic outbreak. Basically, the FDA says that it's preparing for a bird flu pandemic in people that could kill. Are you ready what they're saying? I kid you not. This is Daily Mail, May 9th. They're saying it could kill 1 in 4 Americans. This is what they plan. Listen, let me translate this for you. Donald Trump is ahead in the polls. We need a bird flu. Donald Trump is ahead in the polls. We need another pandemic. Donald Trump is ahead in the polls. We need some major crisis. The WHO's global pandemic treaty has been a topic of conversation for many months and for many reasons. But if the government has a play in this game, which they already do, it will be to inject as many people as they can with whatever they deem necessary this time around. And wouldn't you know it, on the eve of the treaty vote, the FDA commissioners stood on Capitol Hill and stated that the current bird flu virus is mutating quickly and could have you ready for this? A 24% mortality rate. God. And they say it's documented when it jumps to humans. And basically, they confirm the need for testing, antivirals, and you guessed it, a vaccine that's, quote, ready to go, unquote. I don't know about you, but at this point, my response to that kind of rhetoric is over my dead body. The chief medical board at the wellness company has been monitoring this bird flu outbreak for many weeks. Dr. Peter McCullough recently made a statement that we should all take to heart. And he pointed out that severely deadly bird flu pandemic would achieve multiple globalist goals at once. 1, the severity and the transmissibility of the virus will result in culling of more animals, which means a food scarcity. 2, the fatality rate of avian flu in humans has historically been high, which means people will fear the disease. And fear leads to what, folks? Government control. James Madison, crisis is the rallying cry of the tyrant. So, is H5N1 or disease X? It's hard to know for sure. Really, it is. But the media push behind this disease at this time should not be ignored. Gain of function. We all just heard Fauci in front of Rand Paul basically change the definition and then claim it wasn't doing it. Well, if you change the definition, then of course you can claim you weren't doing something. I mean, it's just Orwellian. Totally Orwellian. But regardless, you don't want to be complacent either, and it's time to be prepared. That's why I'm so grateful the wellness company's back on board with their contagion emergency kit. The only one of its kind. It's a prescription kit that provides you with carefully selected assortment of effective medications for bird flu, COVID-19, other respiratory illnesses. We're talking ivermectin, hydroxychloroquine, the Z-Pack, Tamiflu, budesonide, along with a nebulizer. So you can rest easy knowing that you have the meds on hand if you need them. Avoid the wait times and the price of the hospital and have exactly what you need for as low as the cost of a single doctor visit. This kit is built to save lives through early treatment, and every American should have at least one of these kits in their home, at least one. Go to twc.health/TPP. Link is in the description below the video, and let the wellness company's contagion emergency kit be your lifeline. Again, that's twc.health/TPP. That will save you 10% off, and you will get free shipping. Kits are, sad to say, for those of you who are outside of the U.S., the kits are only available in the U.S. All right, but it's true, man. Scientists do say that H5N1 it could be if it jumped to humans, 100 times more deadly than COVID. I mean, a 24% mortality rate. You out of your mind? You just have peace of mind. Speaking of out of your mind, right? All right. Boy, we are going to talk a little bit about the economy later, but there's something else because it just end. Tax season, of course, it just came to a close. And if you're struggling with tax debt, because it's never over for you, tax season, and the IRS is breathing down your neck, you owe taxes, and you don't know where to run, I've got the answer. It's Tax Relief Helpers. It's a team of experienced tax attorneys, enrolled agents, and accountants, and they've been resolving tax issues for over 20 years. They've seen it all, folks. You're not going to stump them. You need a team like this on your side to stop the nasty letters, the wage garnishments, even the audits. Here's how it works. You start with a private consultation. It comes at no cost to you. Then they do a thorough tax debt report to see exactly what the IRS sees. Makes sense. They even have a special insider phone line to the IRS to help speed up your case and resolution. Tax Relief Helpers will build your case, save you time and endless paperwork, and they're tough negotiators. Even their competitors hire them. The best part, they will get results. Remember, tax problems don't solve themselves. Call Tax Relief Helpers today and start your journey toward tax resolution. The number's on the screen, also in the description. It's 888-508-5797. 888-508-5797. Tell them the People's Pundit sent you. Or you could just go to taxreliefhelpers.com and fill out the form. Same thing. Tell them the People's Pundit sent you. taxreliefhelpers.com. Don't wait. Don't wait. Call them, get it done, get your life back on track, and the nasty letters, move on, live life, live the dream. You know? All right. Which one do I want to do first here? I think I'm going to go to the one Sunday show reaction that I'm going to go to. And that is because I think it's very pertinent to what we're going to talk about with the polling. Okay. And there is another clip I want to show, but I think that this is the way, this will be the way to go here. Yeah. Everybody says, oh, God, it's tough. Trump's VP choice this time around, folks, is so tough. It really is, because it's so much more than just, oh, who's going to be my VP? Maybe I'm thinking regionally, can this person help me? Is he going to give me XYZ, demographic? Is he or she going to give me XYZ demographic? Will they deliver a state for me? Do they represent my base? Will it make the non-base people feel more comfortable? That's not really Trump's decision this year. And I'm just going to be blunt about it. I have been, I got to get that clip with Jack Posobiec and Tucker Carlson talking about me. Tucker's reaction is so funny when Jack is like, Rich Barris, the People's Pundit, he said this, and what do you make of that, And Tucker just laughs hysterically, and he's like, of course. And I don't think enough people see it like Tucker and I. I really don't. Trump's decision could save his life. I'm not kidding. If they cannot remove him if he picks a VP that is acceptable to the administrative state, the deep state, whatever you want to call them, and they cannot remove him from office through the normal means, then he better seriously consider that they will kill his ass to replace him with the VP. I'm telling you, ever since JFK, we have not had the representative government and the executive branch that you think we do. You are not in control. These elections, everyone always says, most important election. Since the early 60s, Americans have not realized that they should be electing people who understand that they have lost control of their government and they need to get it back. Now, that being said, this is when this clip I'm going to play is definitely somebody that is named as a VP choice or a potential VP choice. People love him. The base loves him. I call him the most representative senator in the United States Senate. What do I mean by that? J.D. Vance represents his constituents better than any other senator in D.C. right now. And by representing, I mean he reflects their values. He reflects what their will, what they want. There are so many, and I can't say this about the Democratic Party. We talk about congressmen, districts. John O'Shea's up, by the way. There's a runoff going on right now in Texas 12. Perfect example. Craig Goldman is an R plus 30 district almost, R plus 25 district, the 12th district of Texas. Craig Goldman will not represent their values. By the way, Kay Granger, who kept buying her seat with Lockheed Martin money over and over and over again, did not represent their values. If John O'Shea beats Craig Goldman in this runoff, then they will have a person in D.C. that represents them. Then Democrats don't have this problem. You get D plus 30 districts, Democrats, they're liberals. They're nuts. I mean, they're out there. They're way out of the mainstream. But it's a D plus 30 district. It represents those people. They represent those people. The San Francisco Bay Area, right? Places in New York. Districts we could bring up over and over and over again. Of course, Kevin McCarthy's district. It's going to be represented by Vince Fong. CA20 is an R plus 28 district. Vince Fong does not represent those people. Money. Little Drummer Boy Part 2. Makes you rich. Money. It's the gold and silver itch. Hey. Influence. It's got to stop. For some reason, Democrats don't have that problem. It just buys them their views. J.D. Vance is now of course, he is from Ohio, and Ohio is now a very Trumpy state. It doesn't even, like, the regular Republican Party, or I would regular say that. The post-Reagan, pre-Trump Republican Party, very small span of time, yet they think they have the title of traditional Republican. A traditional Republican is an America First Republican. That's the history of the damn party. Hate to tell everybody. The Bushes, the Bush wing, the McCain wing, the Romney wing, and all the other hacks, they have a tiny fraction of the period of history that is the Republican Party. They just did so much to define it in this generation's eyes, they destroyed the brand. Literally. George Bush destroyed the modern day Republican Party. Mitt Romney further destroyed it. John McCain destroyed it. These are not well-liked people. They don't represent the American public. Ohio was never Bush plus 10. And here comes along J.D. Vance to talk about industry. And she says something, and it's hilarious. I'm about to bring something up right now. They always love the wealth gap, the left. They love to talk about the wealth gap. Well, you created it. Let's roll.
It has apply tariffs.
Go back. Sorry, gotta go.
I don't necessarily buy the premise there, Margaret. If you apply tariffs, really what it is you're saying that we're going to penalize you for using slave labor in China and importing that stuff in the United States. What you end up doing is you end up making more stuff in America, in Pennsylvania, in Ohio, and in Michigan.
That did not happen in the Trump administration, though.
We're going to put a brakes on that in a second before we let JD answer. But let me just say this. Joe Biden all of a sudden supports tariffs. Why do you think that is? Because of the topic of today's show is the Sun Belt is taking a hard pass on Joe Biden. States that he won last time, which every Democrat flipped out over. Oh my God, we won Georgia. Oh my God, we won Arizona. They are taking a major hard pass on him this time around. And he looks to be on track to lose the state of Nevada. The first Democrat to lose it since the Bush years. It has been and thanks to George Bush and the financial crisis, by the way, doing nothing about the financial crisis, even though him and Hank Paulson knew it was coming. They were afraid of Chris Dodd and Barney Frank? Does Barney Frank look like a guy who scares you or should scare you? The guy's a total... He's beta, okay? He's beta. That's all I have to say. I don't care who he knows. The man is beta, okay? The guy is a beta, bro, to the teeth. Give me a break. And he got chased, and they chased unbelievably. Barney Frank and Chris Dodd chased Hank Paulson off of Capitol Hill, not once, but twice over the Community Reinvestment Act, Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. What a bunch of cowards. So they lose the silver state until Donald Trump. And she says right there, all of a sudden, Joe Biden likes tariffs. 45 years in Washington, D.C. He never liked tariffs. He never supported tariffs. He's a free trader through and through. The guy loved NAFTA. Scranton Joe. What a load of crap. He lost the Sun Belt, and now he needs to hold the Rust Belt. And the polling shows that he may have a chance to do just that, especially if Democrats go full court press on what Democrats always do, which is submit absentee ballots that don't belong to them. So he's Mr. Tariff now because he's worried they can't even submit absentee ballots enough. They don't think the phony Dropbox tactics are enough this time. They've lost too many people. So not only has CNN, faced an ABC, CBS, all of them, they have done an about face on tariffs because now Joe Biden supports them. Remember, under Trump, a tariff was a tax on you. He was taxing you. And theoretically, a tariff is a tax on the American consumer. Theoretically, it is. However, the question is, isn't it worth it? Wouldn't you rather pay a little bit more for American-made products if it means better products, number one, and number two, American jobs and higher wages? A better household net income growth trend line than the one we got right now, which I'm going to show you in a second. What happened to Trump is going to cause a trade war, and it's going to lead to tripling of prices on everything. Well, guess what? We have skyrocketing inflation without the tariffs. Inflation was consistent and modest under Trump. Average. Not volatile at all. Until COVID. But even that, by the way, V-shaped recovery through and through. Can't pin that on Trump. You can go to the St. Louis Fed website and see it if you don't believe me. V-shaped recovery. Everything was good to go when Donald Trump was president. Handed over the reins and it all went to pot. That's what happened. Okay? All right, so anyway, let's listen to the rest of JD's here, and then we will take a look at what she's saying.
Well, it actually did happen in the Trump administration.
Manufacturing jobs came back?
Have significant...
Yes, you idiot! Can't you read a Bureau of Labor statistic report? I'm sorry I can't let the clip go 2 seconds without intervening and saying something, interjecting here. What a twit. You are sitting on that, you're sitting on that stage in that chair for what reason? You're a stupid airhead. You're a dummy. You can't go to a website and see something for yourself. The goods producing sector resurged under Donald Trump, and that is why wage growth was so much better than under now and Barack Obama. That is why wage growth hit and exceeded 3% for the first time under Donald Trump since the Great Recession. That is why we had 3% or greater GDP growth for the first time since the Great Recession. It wasn't just a professional class job creation engine and the part-time poor schlubs who get to wait on them, which is what we had under Barack Obama and what we got now under Joe Biden. Government growth, professional class jobs, and the rest of us get to work 3 of them part-time to make sure that their butts are powdered and their hands are manicured and their toenails are pampered. Get out of here, lady. And by the way, half of all the construction jobs that were lost due to the COVID shutdown came back the first month after the economy was reopened. 40% of the manufacturing jobs. Manufacturing jobs were at the highest level since the 90s under Donald Trump. The 90s. What an idiot.
onshoring. You had significant increases in people investing in factory construction, but it takes time, Margaret. And that's one of the reasons why I think that we need a second term of President Trump is this stuff is not going to happen overnight. The American heartland wasn't destroyed in 4 years. Mm-hmm. It's not going to be rebuilt in 4 years, but you really need to double down on this policy of bringing good jobs back to the heartland and, more importantly, making stuff in America. We have to be self-reliant as a country.
Okay, just so we have this here, okay? Just so you know I'm not bullshitting you, okay? Here we go. From August 6th, 2018, U.S. manufacturing jobs growing at the strongest pace since 1995. The U.S. manufacturing sector has enjoyed the strongest job growth over a 12-month period in more than 2 decades. In July, another 37,000 were added, the highest number for a single month since December, when Trump was already president. The U.S. economy has added 327,000 manufacturing jobs over the last year, the sector's strongest over a 12-month period since April of 1995, when the number was 345. As People's Pundit Daily previously reported, which was the prior month, manufacturing employment in the U.S. rose to a 9.5-year high in June. The number of American workers employed in the manufacturing sector rose to 13 million almost. So kiss my rosy red you-know-what. What are these people doing on television? This is my question. What are these people doing on television? They just say demonstrably false stuff. And by the way, the numbers we've heard under Biden, so spare me the BS in the chat, are not manufacturing jobs that we have created. We're still recovering a lot of jobs. The actual number we surpassed not that long ago, but not every job represents its prior number. You understand what I'm saying? A manufacturing job that was lost because of COVID and the stupid ass shutdown, all right, that Trump will never do again, at least we know that, is not the same. They're not all the same jobs that have come back. All right. Just lies, man. It's lies, blatant lies. But you know what? Before we move on, the point, there's a point here, though. Just people aren't believing it.
I think the Democrats have been dropping the ball. I mean, you see crime, you see a woman being dragged with a belt, you see all type of stuff happening in the Bronx, and they're just gaslighting it, acting like it's not happening. Mm-hmm. So I just think it's the perfect opportunity for people to speak up. And a lot of bad things are happening. A lot of people can't afford groceries. And Trump is speaking to those people in those barbershops or people that just can't afford this lifestyle that they had probably 4 to 5 years ago. So this is just, I think, once in a lifetime opportunity. You can't do it. And I just want to say one thing. The Bronx voted 83, almost 90% for Trump. I mean, for Biden. I'm hoping for Trump. The fact that Trump is going there to a spot that is deep blue, that should send a deep message to Republicans once again. Step up your game.
Step up your game. Now, don't bet on Republicans stepping up their game. All right. I mean, there's new people in town in New York, and that is the reason why New York is doing what it's doing. They booted George Santos like a bunch of idiots. The guy was like basically the only kind of Republican that could ever win that seat. That seat's gone now unless George Santos runs as a Republican to get it back. It's gone for Republicans. Of course, there is talk George Santos will run as an independent, so that's the end of that. Okay? George Santos will take that seat probably. or at least they'll split the vote and the Democrat will win. But George Santos will get more votes than any of the idiot Republicans will be able to get. There's just whoever they put up is going to be a total chode like the last one, and they'll go down and burn in flames. I mean, that's really the sit. So there is movement, but it's not because of the Republican leadership in that area. I mean, these people are the biggest. They're like Tammany, only they don't win. Okay, at least Tammany Hall won. At least the Tammany machine won, folks. All right, they don't win. They're bullies, and they're basically, they're not basically, they are bullies. They're basically a mafioso wannabe kind of crowd, and they don't even win. It's truly unbelievable. So, like, what the hell good are you? Right? Look at the times, 12:53. Let's start, because it is a big poll, and I do want to get to the state polls if possible. From the Wall Street Journal, okay? Not People's Pundit Daily. Here is the change in Here's the change in household net worth since the start of each president's presidency. Obviously, Trump is in red. Biden is in blue. The first chart is nominal, not adjusted for inflation. That's okay. The second chart to the right is adjusted for inflation. Look at the difference. Look at it. Under Joe Biden, people got poorer. Under Donald Trump, people got more wealth. The wealth gap was actually shrinking under Donald Trump. The wealth gap we heard so much about under Barack Obama and so much from Hillary Clinton when she was running. Yet it shrunk under Donald Trump, not Barack Obama. It shrunk under Donald Trump, not Joe Biden. It's widening again, Biden. Government spending disguised as, stimulus to the economy, Keynesian bullshit, okay, does nothing but pay back their political friends and make them more wealthy. I really feel bad for younger generations. They have nothing. They have no opportunity. They have zero chance to get their piece of the pie. Zero. There is really nothing they're going to be able to do. It's sad. What does Bannon say, Laura? The top 95% owns 99% of the wealth. Or the top 99% owns 95%. I got to ask Steve what it is. Because I remember him sending it to me. And he was right. I mean, it was like CNBC, by the way, article that he showed me. And if we have time, there's a CNBC article I want to show. Because if God forbid, there's a debt crisis or a debt bomb, which CNBC is reporting on, by the way. Not that it's happening, but like this is what would happen. The fears are now growing on Wall Street that there actually could be one. Normally they just pass it away. They don't care. It's not tangible to them. So voters are the same way. The debt isn't really tangible to them. Debt and deficits are deficit spending, by the way, is not the problem. Not that it's great. I'm just saying that there has been a lot of really good economic research on this and I wouldn't refer you to it, but he used to write several Cato writers used to contribute to People's Pundit Daily weekly columns. Dan Mitchell has written a lot about this. As long as your private sector is growing at a faster pace as your public sector, then deficit spending necessarily is not really a problem. But the way we are structured, our economy is structured, and I just mentioned this, there's just more government growth. That's a problem. So that, of course, will lead to more national debt. This chart would get considerably worse. The wealth gap would get considerably larger. There will be, it's certainly majority. There will be a huge percentage of Americans who will not be able to financially survive. It would be awful. What they're setting our children and our grandchildren, potentially even us. I don't know about you guys. What am I, 42, Laura? 43? Am I 42 or 43, Laura? I can't remember. I'm 43, right? Yeah. That isn't that old. Let's say I live to 85. Am I really to believe that the government is going to be able to continue this for another 40 years? A lot of people are like me, by the way. You either have maybe you have a pension, you retired from the military, right? Are they going to stop paying the bills when this debt bomb blows off? Of course they are. They're going to have just enough well, actually, they won't have enough, but everything is going to have to go to servicing the debt. Austerity is going to have to be renamed to something else. There's going to be another word for it. It's going to be so bad. Because when the bigger they are, the harder they fall, folks. All right? That goes for governments too. That goes for superpowers. Look what happened to the Soviet Union when it fell. It's calamity. Hell, the last so-called, it wasn't really a global hegemon, but to them at the time, they believed it was. When ancient Rome went, it plummeted civilization backwards, hundreds, if not thousands of years into the dark ages. What do you think is going to happen when America goes down? It's going to be try to dream up a modern equivalent. It'll be awful. I feel terrible for these people. I could be one of them. I'm not in the top 95%, top 99%. Not even close. Man, it's time for another commercial break. It's best we blow through them anyway, right? And then, we can get into it. But it is 12:59. Don't forget, you're watching Inside the Numbers with the People's Pundit. I am your host, Rich Barris, the People's Pundit. Before we go to break, don't forget to smash the like button. All right. And subscribe. If you're watching on Rumble, mosey on over to Locals. Give us a like or, thumbs up on YouTube, whatever. Vice versa. If you're watching on YouTube, mosey on over to Rumble. And don't forget to smash the like button there and subscribe. It's a couple of, not even a minute of your time. And it really does us a solid. All right. It has a lot of impact, a lot more than you guys think, especially when it comes to advertisers, but also algorithms and everything. But of course, the best place, if you want to follow us, is right there. peoplespundit.locals.com, peoplespundit.locals.com. Major victory for the Public Polling Project. We are now aggregated on 2 of the 3 major aggregators. One, I'm going to Florida don't get her way soon. There's going to be hell to pay. I'll tell you that. Major victory. But in order to continue it going, of course, we need your help. So the link's in the description. Contribute what you can. All right. I understand. I just put that graph up. I know what that graph means. All right. So that's why I'm not, pushing or busting chops. I know they're not great times. But do what you can and share it with people, and that's a huge help as well. The wider, the bigger, the larger the contributor base is for a crowdfunding project, obviously, the better off it is. All right. And we'll do hopefully a national poll real soon. I'm doing a poll with somebody else that's a national poll. And what I was thinking is kind of just like out of my own pocket, throwing in some stuff that we would normally ask. And then we can kill 2 birds with 1 stone. All right. And then Michigan, we're going to poll Michigan very shortly again. All right. Live interviews, phones and text messages and, multi-mode. All right. Let's take that quick break. And when we come back, we'll go over a poll, which I think is very, 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 very important. Very insightful stuff going on. We're just talking about the economy. So, why not, right? It's no wonder with everything that we were just talking about and everything that's going on, everything that's happening in the world right now, it is no wonder, no surprise that people are looking for safer places to invest their money. Stocks are unpredictable. Dow closed above 30 last week, but the NASDAQ and S&P were down. Let's face it, inflation has a real impact on the value of currencies. And that's why I want to talk to you about one of our sponsors, which is Freedom Gold USA. If you've ever, thought about investing in gold or silver, or you're just interested maybe in diversifying your investment portfolio, and you should be, Freedom Gold USA is definitely a company that you guys should check out. And what I like about them is that they're all about helping you make smart investment choices in precious metals. They believe that the more you know, the better. And they want to offer basically free investment guides, consultations. They want to give you the information you need to make confident decisions without pressure or a hard sell. That's what makes Freedom Gold different. Also, they guarantee competitive pricing on some of the best quality and purity gold and silver you'll find. You're getting a solid deal. You don't have to worry about extra fees. They offer free shipping and insurance. It's huge on all orders. Plus, you might even get some free silver on qualifying purchases. And they will give you $500 credit, a credit for $500 towards opening a gold or silver IRA. Folks, that's a nice bonus. And here's the best part. Dealing with Freedom Gold USA is simple and it's hassle-free. You will not get any of the pushy sales tactics. They're all about helping you reach your financial goals in a way that works for you. So if you want to learn more, I would recommend giving Freedom Gold USA a call at numbers on the screen. It's also down below, 888-279-3592. 888-279-3592. Tell them the People's Pundit sent you. Or check out their website at freedomgoldusa.com/rich. Don't forget that. freedomgoldusa.com/rich. Find out about their latest special offers, see what kind of deals you might qualify for. Let me give you the number again too, 888-279-3592. 888-279-3592. Or freedomgoldusa.com/rich. freedomgoldusa.com/rich. Don't forget that /. Go secure your future today. All right. 104, making good time. Not bad. Not bad at all. All right. Let's look at the Harvard-Harris poll. Absolutely devastating for Joe Biden, folks. Absolutely devastating for Joe Biden. This is bad. This poll, first of all, was Biden plus 8 or 9. Final poll 2020. It appeared to be tightening last month a little bit. Now it's open sauce, boy. I mean, this is so bad. I mean, the questions, the demographics, this is so bad for Joe Biden. Let's take a look at it. Also, by the way, the state polls that just came out do not comport with what Reuters has been putting out with Ipsos. Let me just tell you guys, because if you missed the show last week, I brought up a Twitter user. I believe he calls himself like President Blumph or something like that, but he had it. He was right. Ipsos is being sponsored by different people in the way that YouGov is sponsored by different people like Yahoo News, The Economist, CBS. But here's the kicker. It's all the same data set. So when Ipsos does one poll and it's sponsored by 3 people and they release it, even if it is a different fielding day, for instance, it's still the same poll. So what Ipsos is trying to do is fill the averages with more favorable results for Joe Biden under the guise of different polling. You understand what I'm saying? So if it is ABC News, by the way, why is ABC no longer doing the ABC Washington Post poll with Gary Langer from Langer Research? Why? Where is the Langer Research poll? It's a staple. It's been a staple for like 30 years. I don't know, man. Years. The ABC Washington Post poll has supposedly an A+ rating on 538, or did. Why are they not using Gary Langer anymore? The Biden plus 17 they had in Wisconsin, that was incorrect, didn't get Gary Langer fired. Why are they not doing a quarterly poll? We know they spiked the results of the presidential election in the last poll that they did. We know they did. I have it stone cold. I just can't blow someone up. I've offered money to an employee at ABC or the Washington Post who has an email or something articulating the thought process for spiking that poll. We know it was spiked. They released favorables and approvals for Trump and Biden. They released, I believe, a generic ballot. I have to go back and look, but I'm pretty sure. And of course, they released national primary polling. They did all of that, but didn't do the rematch for 24 again? Bull. They did do it. I know they did it. And I know it was Trump plus 12. And they spiked it because Gary Langer's been finding really big numbers for Donald Trump. The one before that was Trump plus 10. The one before that was Trump plus 6. Gary, in fact, is one of the first, along with me, to catch the trend with young voters, to catch the trend with non-white voters, particularly Hispanics as well. And they trashed him for it. Don't you remember? ABC News wrote their own article trashing their own poll. No apology for Gary? Maybe he was a little bit bullish on Trump, but hell, he was right about the under 35. Even Steve Kornacki did a whole segment on it after the latest NBC News poll. He was ahead of the curve with me. He got fired because those results are too favorable to Donald Trump. Or maybe didn't get fired even. He's just, they have not gone back. And ABC now has moved forward with a panel pollster, which is one of the worst panels in the business. The Ipsos poll is awful. I'm sorry. It's awful. It is not a good poll. It made top 10 lists for the worst pollsters of 2020. Every single state was wrong. Every one. Dump Gary Langer for that? Let me take a real quick sip of coffee and a puff. You know, honestly, Laura, I don't know why more people aren't defending Gary. Honestly, I don't. I don't know why more people aren't calling him out for it, too. It's so obvious. Everybody knows it happened. Everybody knows. Everyone in the business, anyway. So here we have the Harvard CAPS Harris poll. All right, CAPS is the Center for American Political Studies at Harvard University. And then it's coupled with Harris X, right? It's just a Stagwell company. Mark Penn owns a lot of stuff, folks. He is a smart business guy. Shrewd dude. Former Clinton pollster. But I would say he's a respected guy. He's still in enough with certain Democratic establishment types, but the party has gotten so left-wing that many people don't like him anymore because of his advocacy for being more like Bill Clinton. He believes the party should go back to being more like Bill Clinton. I mean, I don't think he's ever said that out loud. He's written a lot about his former boss, but he was smarter. And the platform is bad. The Democratic platform is extreme. It's out there. Even on abortion, as we've done a million times. Interesting methodology for this poll. They were interviewed 1,660 voters from the United States, registered voters. They're recruited through an opt-in web panel recruitment sampling tool. A lot of people do this. It's the same thing as YouGov, you know. Recruitment occurs through a broad variety of professional validated respondent panels to expand the sampling frame as wide as possible and minimize the impact of a given panel on recruiting methods. We do the same thing. All right. We also test our panels, make sure the metrics are sound. We use only the best metric panels. Results are weighted for age within gender, region, ethnicity. They're doing nested weighting. And honestly, it's probably why they're a little bit bullish on Trump compared to the consensus. But it's also why I would trust them more than I would trust Ipsos. Ipsos has some serious various bias issues, that panel. Marital status, household size, income, employment, education, political party, which we don't do, political ideology, where necessary to align them with their actual proportions in the population. In other words, I would suspect they mean this. All right, we do it another way. We don't do it with ideology, but we do it like this. So if a rural sample is like 30% liberal, they're nesting that and making sure that that's not skewing the rural sample. And that happens a lot, by the way, especially in randomized surveys. RDD, random digital dial, has a major problem with this. Why? Because not every group of voters responds to polls by mode at the same rate. It's just true. All right. Who are you going to reach if you call landlines with IVR? You're going to reach 18 to 29-year-olds? No, sir. You're not. And vice versa. If you use cell phones and long live call duration interviews, you're going to get more professional class people, even in maybe potentially rural areas, for instance. So that's why you'll see polls in the past especially when they had very bad years. Polls in the past would grossly understate the Republican share of the vote in rural areas. It would be like 55, 40, something like that, maybe 55, 35. And then Republicans go on to win these areas like 75-25 or more. That's what's happening. And some people would say, yeah, but it's going to balance out because Republicans are going to be overrepresented in urban areas. But it doesn't work out like that, in truth. Propensity score weighting was also used to adjust for respondents' propensity to be online. That's credible, valid. The margin of error for the total sample is plus or minus 2%. It should be a credibility interval. It is an opt-in panel. I know they're using that language to keep it simple and to keep people, from under. It's what people know, but it's not the correct term. The correct term would have been either, at the very least, sampling error. But being that it is an opt-in recruiting panel, it should have a credibility interval. All right. The poll was supervised by pollsters, the chairman of the Harris poll, which is Mark Penn, like I said, and Dritten Nesho, who's the CEO of Harris X. And then you have Stephen, and I always butcher his name, Ansalabier, I think is how you say it. And he's a professor at Harvard, and he's CAPS director, emeritus at Harvard University. All right, so here's the approval in the mood of the country. Right track, wrong track, pretty ugly. All right, 33% think that the country is on the right track. 55% think it is on the wrong track. That's basically flat. Right track went down a little bit. 8% are unsure. For an online panel, this is basically in line with most opt-in online panels. All right, the economy is on the right track. Only 34%. Wrong track, 60. Bad news for Joe Biden again. And people had been feeling a little bit better, as you can see, but it's bad. That's bad. For this poll too, you can see the trend line. It's awful. Perception of the U.S. economy is steady. 42% saying it is strong today. 58% say it is weak. Almost 1 in 2 voters say their personal situation is getting worse. Jeez. Look at the numbers for Hispanics. 52% of Hispanic voters say that their financial situation is getting worse. Hell, only 15% of Asians say that their situation is improving. That is not good for Joe Biden. The urban areas are positive. 44% say it's improving, but 36% say it's getting worse. Look at the suburbs. 50% getting worse, 22% improving. That's more in line with rural America than it is with urban America. And that is a major, major red flag for the Democratic Party, especially if you have Trump, who very clearly is trying to put together my long-sought urban-rural coalition. That's my little Roro in the background. He's obviously feeling better, huh? Similarly, over half of voters say their personal economic situation is only fair or poor right now. Again, look at Hispanics. 43% say that there's fair or poor. 43% say that it's excellent or good. I would point to 18 to 34. Look at the difference between them. 18 to 24, 50% say that it's fair or poor. All right. Only 33% say that it's good. 25 to 34, 36% say that it's good. And then you have another 35% who say it's fair or poor. And so when we're looking for hints about why this is working out, the polling is coming out the way it is, this would be why. You can see the 65 plus age group, very susceptible to inflation, of course. They're living in their golden years. They have what they have on a fixed income. And you can see that 60% of them are saying fair or poor. That's bad in a way. The one good thing for Biden. Why? Because, 65 plus, really the 65 to 74 age group is one of the very, very few age groups that appear to be holding for Democrats their support that they have gotten. But with that group, by the way, 36% do say that it's good. All right, so I find it, again, a little bit funny how, I don't know if I should say this. It's not funny, actually. I find it somewhat offensive. The lack of care or consideration for anyone who's not in their personal situation. Like, oh, it's almost over anyway. What does it matter? You know, like, I find that really wrong. I'm sorry, I do. Like, morally wrong. You have grandkids, don't you? You have children, don't you? I mean, they're in their prime working days right now. But I'm telling you, some of the stuff, reports I've seen from door knocking, other things like that, it's just, it'll make you sick to your stomach. It really will. Biden's approval in this poll remains steady at 44%. They continuously find Biden a little bit higher than everybody else. By the way, so do we. All right, we're a few points higher, but he's still, of course, underwater. And look at the intensity index, which is, of course, the difference between strongly approve and strongly disapprove. 40% maintain that they strongly disapprove, while only 23, which is down a point this month, say that they strongly approve. Handling of Biden's efforts to, stimulate jobs, Israel, immigration, et cetera, et cetera. This is strongly or somewhat. He appears to have bumped up a little bit on stimulating jobs, and certainly on the economy. But immigration is up 2 points. It's weird because last month his numbers were stronger against Trump than they are this month, even though his approval went up. It's a little bit odd. I found it a little bit odd. But that Hamas number continues to be abysmal at 36%. All right. A majority of voters say they approve of the job Trump did as president. Now, this is something that we have seen consistently. Trump's retrospective approval rating has skyrocketed compared to what it was. 55%. This is in line with other polls. 55% now say they approve of the job that Donald Trump did as president. Only 43% disapprove. Look at whites. 60% approve, 38% disapprove. He gets 60% of the white vote, and it's landslide territory. But look at African Americans. Trump is only -5. Huge. Absolutely huge. Hispanics all the way up to 43% approve. Asians, 47. I'll tell you what. You got the budget Harvard has. I would take this poll to 3,000 respondents like we do. 1,660 is an iffy spot for me. I feel like you collected more than most, but you still fell shy of what I truly do believe is what is required for national poll to get representation, to achieve representation. I would take, Mark, listen up, bro. I would take this poll to 3,000 responses. You know they got the budget to do it. They should do it. It's Harvard University, for crying out loud. Take it to 3K, buddy. And I bet you're going to see a lot of different things. Make sure you're balanced by area well. You won't have to do I bet you will not. I'm willing to bet you that you will not have to apply the same weighting fingerprint that you're doing right now. I'm not saying the poll is that. There's nothing wrong with it. I mean, this is certainly industry standard. I'm simply saying you could make it a much higher quality poll by taking it to 3K. And you're going to see stuff. I'm telling you, you're going to see stuff. And you're going to be like, oh, we should be 3K from now on. I guarantee it. All right. Only because I'm seeing some, why, guys? Because I'm seeing some like pretty big subgroup, sampling errors for subgroups are higher. We say this all the time. I drill it into your heads. Sampling errors for subgroups are higher. But that being said, there's some things that just, African Americans, we have done the retrospective approval poll for Trump. African Americans are not as high as Hispanics. Hispanics by majority now, or very close. Typically, it's like 50-50. Approve, disapprove. They have him doing better with black voters than with Hispanic voters, and that's off to me. That tells me if you take the poll to 3K, you're going to get more rounded population of Hispanics that you're just not getting right now. All right. Oh, hiccups. By the way, ditto to other subgroups. That's just going to happen to other subgroups as well. Disapproval of the Republican Party dipped considerably this month. 55 down to 50. Approval up from 45 now to 50. That's good, solid news for Republicans. I still think, though, they're screwing shit up. Sorry, Winston. Did I just kick you? Where'd that go, buddy? Daddy's got to find that. Look out. Where'd that go? Hang on, guys. I just dropped something on Winston. Where did that go, little man? Crap. Are you kidding me? There it is. I love you too, dog. I love you too. You're such a good dog. You're a good dog, Winston. Are you a little bit of a pain in the butt? Sure, but you're still a puppy. I love you too, little man. He's always sitting. Every time I do it in the show, he wants to sit underneath my stool or underneath the desk at my feet. Love this little guy, man. He's my little buddy. All right, so that's a good sign, but I still think that they're screw-ups, and they'll do their best to screw it up because that's how dumb they are. Democratic approval is steady, and so is disapproval. Steady, but it's negative at -8. 54% disapprove, 46 approve. Only 1 in 3 voters approve of the job Congress is doing. We can move, Elon Musk, RFK Jr., and Tim Scott enjoy the highest net favorability. Listen, Barnes, my buddy Barnes, has been railing against the possibility of picking Tim Scott. Nice guy, not the right choice. I'm going to just say this loud and clear. Nice guy, not the right choice. Too much of a revolving door with him in Wall Street. That does not say MAGA. Trump is doing just fine with the African American vote. For a Republican, he is set to do the best since Richard Milhouse Nixon. Actually, if Trump's polling support at around 20% were to hold with black voters, he will get a higher share of the black vote than any Republican since the Civil Rights Act was signed. It will be monumental, historic. He doesn't need to pick a black vice president. And if he did, I would go with Ben Carson. He understands the times better. He's actually even, I'm telling you, he's going to be more favorably viewed among black voters anyway. They know him more. Cuba Gooding Jr., for crying out loud. I said on my book club last night, we were talking about this. For crying out loud, the man has a movie about his life. It's called Gifted Hands. Cuba Gooding Jr. plays Ben Carson. It's not the best choice with Tim Scott. Tim, you're a nice guy, man. A really nice guy. I love your energy. I'm sure there's something you can do. I just don't think it's vice president. I think they'll whack him out in a heartbeat if he picks Tim Scott. That's what I think. I'm just openly saying this because I truly believe this. This government is totally out of control. If you don't think that they will knock off a president again, then you just aren't paying. You're not paying attention. You're not paying attention. All right, Donald Trump is at +4 in this poll. Joe Biden is -10. And that's pretty good for Biden. There's other polls where his favorability is a lot worse. 43% favorable, 53% unfavorable. With Trump, 50% favorable, 46% unfavorable. Elon Musk is +13, 48-35, and RFK is +10, 46-36. This is still a good poll for RFK. There's been a lot of other polls, however, coming out showing that the more people learn about RFK, the less they like him. And it's mostly being driven by Democrats, by the way. I'm just not looking at anybody else worth really mentioning. Hillary Clinton is even more popular than Joe Biden in this poll. I kid you not. That's bad. What's BB at? +7. The U.S. military, the police, and the FBI are the most trusted and favored institutions in the country. We don't need to go over all this. Inflation and immigration remain the top issues facing the country. Taxes are gaining prominence as a voting issue. And that is because people just felt the pain of Donald Trump not being in office. You think you feel pain now? You think you feel pain now? Wait till next year. If Trump doesn't win this election and extend the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act. Wait till you see small business owners out there. Wait until you see the size of the check that you're going to have to cut to the IRS this year coming up. You think you had to pay out of pocket this year? And it was worse this year. And somehow, I don't want to get into it, but the check that Laura and I had to cut was undesirably high. Very high. It was awful. Just awful. Inflation is still far and away, however, the top issue personally. 41% chose inflation, 16% chose immigration. I'd never get crime this high, folks. I don't know where they're getting this from. The only time crime really skyrocketed for us was during the Summer of Love. Remember that? The Summer of Love, when Antifa and BLM were burning cities to the ground and taking federal buildings and burning them to the ground if they weren't occupying them. Crime shut up temporarily back then. But if this is the top issue for 57% inflation and immigration, Trump is going to win this election. We have abortion usually around 4th or 5th place as well. That's where we have it. Climate change is never that high up on the list for us. Let me just mention this. I don't like how some of these are laid out. Curbing guns. I don't like that at all. When we ask about an issue, we always ask both sides of the issue. So, inflation and border security. Okay, that's a great example. Why? Because you may have some dreamers out there, and their number one issue is inflation, but not in the way that a Trump voter would be thinking about it. Okay? Climate change is not the environment. Okay? It isn't. We do both climate change and the environment, or the environment and climate change, because I'm an environmentalist. Me, the People's Pundit. I am not a climate change alarmist. Climate change is a separate issue from the actual environment. I am for the reconstruction project of Twin Lakes in Florida. I am for that. I am not for curbing cow farts. Okay? I mean, I'm a field and stream guy. I want to preserve the best largemouth bass fishing spots in the world. I want to preserve the best fly fishing spots in the world. When I go out on a charter and I go for wahoo or marlin, I want my water to be blue. I don't want overfishing. I don't want whaling. I don't want going after orcas. I'm not a shark killer, even though I'm terrified of them. This is part of the environment. This is part of the ecosystem. I am not for disgusting pollution. It doesn't bother me that Richard Nixon, when he was president, established the EPA. They've gone off mission, far off mission, but you don't know what the cities looked like back then unless you were my age or higher. Smog was a real thing. Bad. That being said, you're not going to get me to pay 2-3 times more a month for my utility bill because of some ridiculous law that isn't going to stop Mother Nature from changing the climate. How arrogant do you have to be to think that you have the power to stop Mother Nature from doing what it's been doing since the dawn of time? George Carlson was right about this. It's like, oh yeah, paper bag. Yeah, that'll do it. Let's stop paper bags from being on the floor. When Mother Nature wants to whoop on you, she's going to whoop on you. End of story. We just came out of an ice age 10,000 years ago. What makes AOC think she's going to stop the next one? Give me a break. It's so ridiculous. Racial equality. Oh, and by the way, on curbing guns, that's not what we say. Second Amendment, or the right to bear arms, and gun control. You need to ask both sides of the issue, Because believe me, I don't know how you could poll. I don't know how you could be a pollster and not hear when you ask these questions like this. I don't know how you don't hear the voters in the damn monitoring interviews constantly saying, curbing guns? No, my number one issue is protecting the Second Amendment. Where's that choice? We don't have one. I guess you're other. No. Abortion. That can be simply asked. You want to ask somebody after that whether they're pro-life or not. That's different. Consistent from last month, nearly 3 in 4 voters say price increases and inflation have proven to be sticky. Well, have you gone to the grocery store lately? Who the hell wouldn't say yes to this? Who would not say yes to this? I mean, a drone, hive mind, maybe. Even the hive goes and buys groceries, right? Oh, that's right. So many of them have them delivered now. Or they have the poor bastards working at the store gather up their groceries for them because they're too freaking lazy to walk the aisles. You know the people I'm talking about. Now, there's legitimate medical people who just don't have a chance to do that, like, so they have to do it. They take advantage of it. But you know the guy I'm talking about. The guy looks like he hasn't been laid in 2 decades. He's still got a mask on his face. He wears socks with his loafers. He's a total lib. You know what I'm talking about. Come on. That guy. Yup. That dude. Anyway, moving on. Nominations in the horse race. Look, if the election for president were here, let's get to the nitty gritty of things. And then we'll have to take one more break, but we're going to get time to go through this. Trump leads Biden. He maintains that lead. It has actually expanded since last month. Trump is now, because Biden, oh no, that's right. They had one more before that one that was tightened. That's right. Never mind. With leaners too, Trump maintains his lead, which is something that we have been seeing as well. It's not as big. Like that leaner push for Biden is not as big as it used to be. And here's Biden's problem, folks, in a nutshell. Without leaners, Trump is like at 49%. That's what we see as well when we're polling. Very close at or just below 50. And then with leaners, Trump is what's not comfortably, but significantly over the 50% mark. The polls that just came out over the weekend, by the way, Arizona and Florida and Georgia, Trump is at or above 50 in like every Sunbelt state, every one of them. Arizona, 52, Florida, 54, Georgia, 51, Nevada, 52. I mean, this, folks, even if they're within their sampling era, Biden would need every single undecided voter to vote for him. When you look at polls with leaners like us, Harris, and Emerson sometimes does it, you can see how the leaners are going to go. Even when they go in Biden's favor a little, like they do with us and with the Harris poll, it's not enough. It's simply not feasible. We tried explaining this during the primary when it was still competitive. I mean, it was never competitive, but you guys know what I'm talking about. It was only a matter of whether Trump would trigger winner-take-all rules in some of these primaries. And if he's polling at 48, you're not going to stop him from getting to 50 with 10% undecided still. Undecided here is 8. When they lean, Trump goes from 49 to 53. Biden goes from 43 to 48. So he gains 5, Trump gains 4. But that break ain't going to cut it. It is just not going to cut it. And then Biden really has to look at the map, and which I want to do here. Biden really has to look at the map, and the only thing he can do and say for himself is, God, I got to hold the Rust Belt. But guys, you're not going to hold the Rust Belt if you get creamed in the Sun Belt like that. Not against Donald Trump. Not against Donald Trump. Maybe against others? Sure. Not Trump. It's not going to happen. God, I wish we have time to include this. We don't. Somebody just showed me the latest refresh on RCP. I did not see Molly Hemingway's article on the Federalist. I'll just give you the headline real quick. NBC News, the New York Times, replay the Russia hoax for the 2024 election. I got to tell you, I'll put the article in the thing, but everybody should get ready. Here we go. They're going to come in the chats. Here we go, locals. Link for locals. Link for YouTube. Link for Rumble. Getter was just being a pain today. I'm not sure if it even fired off at this point, but I'm not in the chat because it was already 2 minutes over. I'm like, come on, Getter, connect. I'm not sure if it connected or not. Yeah, absolutely. I'm looking about I'm looking at the comments about, the climate change stuff from before we were talking about. I just saw them now on YouTube, but it's exactly right. Like, the hell do you think you are? Gonna stop an ice age? Gonna stop, Yeah, sure. Personally, I view this whole issue and beyond a lot like Elon Musk. And eventually, we're going to, if we want to survive as a species, we're going to have to learn how to migrate. Planetary migration. It's the only way. The sun's going to go. It's not infinite. It's going to go. If we're even around that long. But we absolutely should have a lunar landing module like Trump wanted. The only reason we know about all these other blue planets right now is because of Donald Trump. Donald Trump's going to go down actually years and years from now. His retrospective approval rating is already positive. He's going to be a legend just on that stuff alone. Fast forward 200 years and imagine a scenario in which, that information, right? The pursuit of that discovery that we have made under Trump with that telescope and the lunar landing pad, he's going to be a big deal. Space Force. He's going to be a big deal. When one day, if it happens, and we don't kill ourselves first, when one day somebody steps foot on another blue planet, we figure out something. Donald Trump is going to be recalled. Who kids put the telescope in the sky into orbit to allow us to measure and to identify blue planets more than the wobble effect, because the wobble effect is all we have. And I know many of you probably don't know what the hell I'm talking about, but the only way to observe a planet before Trump was to watch its wobble effect on the light of a star. So as the planet would go passes in front of the star, it dims the light of the star and creates like a wobble. And that's how they were able to identify planets. And then based on what it's admitting, you'd be able to see, well, the atmosphere, that planet contains whatever, so it likely is blue and has an atmosphere. That's all gone now. Well, it's not gone, but Trump revolutionized this by putting that telescope in the sky, which, by the way, could have gone up before, but Barack Obama was too busy raiding NASA's budget to steal from them, and Medicaid, by the way, in order to fund Obamacare. That's why that did not go into space when it was supposed to, or orbit, really. With RFK in the lead, it says that Trump maintains his lead. It's 43-39, RFK at 12. Then with leaners, it's 45-40 with RFK at 14. So it's Trump plus 4. But then when leaned, Trump plus 5. A little bit of a reverse effect from what we see with the head-to-head only. All right. Former GOP competitors are the top picks for the Trump's GOP. Ron DeSantis is actually number one with 12%. 9% is Tim Scott, Vivek Ramaswamy, 8%, Tulsi Gabbard, 5%, Marco Rubio. This is all name recognition. It's all name recognition at this point. They even put in Tucker Carlson, J.D. Vance, and Kerry Lake, who got respectively 4%, 3%, and 2%. Who is not in there is Lee Zeldin. Or I don't see Gifted Hands either. Nope, he's not. Tim Scott gives Trump the most traction with Dems, Hispanics, and Independents. Ramaswamy gets the most traction with Republicans. I think it's very early, really. This stuff never holds. It doesn't. And I tell you, I've long believed that we really overstate the impact of the vice presidential pick. Barack Obama picked Joe Biden to help him with white people who were skeptical of a young black man. All right. And probably had some impact. But Barack Obama was going to win that election regardless. Let's see. Mike Pence probably put some like Ben Shapiro like conservatives to ease. But Donald Trump was going to win that election anyway. What else? The strongest case for vice presidential pick is, of course, JFK's pick of Lyndon Baines Johnson to deliver Texas. But his daddy was going to steal that election anyway. Texas, probably he did deliver. But that really is the strongest case, and it's one that has been, there's been rebuttals to it, strong rebuttals, and it's not as solid as people think it is. That's what gave birth to the school of thought about regional picks and industry, really emphasizing it anyway. I don't think it matters as much as we think. I don't. Again, as I say, for Trump, the biggest consideration is whether or not he will lose his damn life if he doesn't pick the right person. And maybe life or liberty, because if he is removed, what do you think is going to happen? I'll tell you, the Justice Department's going to go right back after him. His political opponents will bury him. I'm telling you. I am telling you, that is how it's going to go. All right, we're getting kind of low on time here. I do have to take another quick break too. My God, already. But that's the way the cookie crumbles. Got to pay the bills. And then when we come back, we'll go through the conviction questions, which I can't stand. But it is what it is, and there's some insightful stuff in there. I don't believe in the credibility of that question. I don't. Again, just like if we were to say that Joe Biden got convicted from taking money from, I just don't believe it. All right. Nattokinase, right? Thrombocytopenia. You like that, right? I've been working on it. So AstraZeneca finally admitted in court that COVID-19 could result in life-threatening blood clots. Again, the Daily Mail reported that. Quote, AstraZeneca acknowledged in a legal document submitted to the High Court in February that its vaccine can in very rare cases cause TTS. TTS is short for thrombosis with thrombocytopenia syndrome, a medical condition where a person suffers blood clots along with low platelet count. The admission by AstraZeneca is the first of its kind, and it will not be the last after the damage we've seen these vaccines cause. The question now is, if you get the vaccine, or if you got it, what can be done about it? Fortunately, Dr. Peter McCullough and his team at the Wellness Company have been leading experts in treating COVID and vaccine injury since early on, and their research has shown that nattokinase has a great potential in treating some of the most serious side effects. He noted that out of all the available therapies I have used in my practice, I believe nattokinase and related peptides hold the greatest promise for patients at this time, unquote. So this groundbreaking discovery led to the formation of the Wellness Company's Spike Support Formula, which contains nattokinase. To date, tens of thousands of people have tried Spike Support, and the results have been nothing short of miraculous. Testimonies are on their website, and they speak for themselves. Purchasing each element of Spike Support Formula would cost over $100, which means the Wellness Company's unique formula use with it, you will save $35. Spike Support Formula is the gold standard for combating that spike protein, a daily supplement to help you get back to feeling your best. Reclaim your health. Go to twc.health/TPP, same link as before, and use that promo code TPP in the URL, and that'll get you 10% off and free shipping. Again, twc.health/TPP. All right. Tell you what. Who got that award? That award, Real Clear Politics dishes out now. Dr. Jay Bhattacharya, economist and a medical doctor. How bright do you have to be an economist and a medical doctor? Brilliant guy. But he got the Samdeezy Award because, for those who don't know what that was, it really is about speaking up and doing the right thing in the face of tyranny, authoritarianism. And Fauciism is nothing short of that. It absolutely was. It was a reign of terror from the public health industry. Dr. Peter McCullough is another one. Really is. Really is. I suppose you can only give award once, right? But he certainly is one of those people. And, because of him, we know so much that we just did not before. All right. Let's get back up this poll really quick. Go to those questions. 148. Speaking of poll, I'm going to have to go and check on the one we running. And hopefully we can get done collecting somewhat around today. But I'm not sure. We'll have to see. Oops, I had the two of these up. So bear with me while I slide. There we go. Trump's base is far more consolidated than Joe Biden's. 7 in 10 voters are locked in already, which I think I would argue it's higher than that. There's a lot of research to show that the initial decision people make in their minds is, even those who say they're undecided, that initial decision, it's done, it's finished, and they just later rationalize how they made that decision. Okay, so what do I mean? Like, even if they say they're undecided, they will later rationalize a reason for why they're going to vote for the person they eventually vote for. But in truth, they already knew they were going to vote for that person. All right. Trump's base is more consolidated. It's a big deal. Half of independents are undecided. That is always the case. I mean, independents are always the last ones to decide. By party, you can see that 22% of the GOP is still weighing their choices. 30% of Democrats. Geez, I'm hiccuping. That is the presence of third-party candidates, okay? And by the way, when we do Michigan, we're going to do RFK as a natural law candidate. Will not say independent, as we have to put as so many times before. And that will give us, I think, a better read on things. We'll do it with and without Jill Stein. There's just no point to do it head to head anymore with Biden and Trump, because RFK is going to be on the ballot. So generic someone else, all that's going to go out the window. It will be Trump, Biden, RFK, unsure. Trump, Biden, RFK, Jill Stein, unsure. Trump, Biden, RFK, Jill Stein, Lars Mapstead, Cornel West, undecided. That's at this point, some of these states, we know that. I'm telling you, where he's claiming ballot access, he does not really have yet. All right. That map is wildly overblown. And I know the decision desk is doing a good job on how they're tracking it. It's like, this is what he says he has. We know he has these. And what, of course, that is what? Utah, one of the New England states. It may be Maine, Utah, Michigan, and one other one. That's it. That's it. The rest are claimed status, but those signatures will absolutely be challenged. They will be challenged. All right, so here's the debate. 4 in 5 voters want Biden and Trump to debate. Nearly 2 in 3 think debates will prove valuable information. Voters want the debates to include independent and third-party candidates. Biden, as we talked about last week, oh yeah, I'll debate him. I hear he's free on Wednesdays. Cheap shot, because he's not in court on Wednesdays. That's what that wise ass is referring to. He's got stipulations out the wazoo. No live audience, because we don't want his senility to be laughed at live on television. And then the other one is no RFK, no Cornel West, no Jill Stein. They are not allowed on the stage in Joe Biden's eyes. You believe this guy? And Trump should never have agreed to this. I'm telling you right now. Nearly 3 in 4 voters want Trump and Biden to stick with the Commission on Presidential Debates. Well, I'll tell you what. In this case, if I was Trump, this is one where I would tell people, tough noogies. You're not going to get that from me. The Commission on Presidential Debates is totally corrupted. After what they did in 2020, that little stunt they pulled, we can't hold the debate because we don't have the plexiglass and nobody will sit behind the plexi. Trump won't sit behind plexiglass, blah, 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 blah. And then we just have the third debate is a load of crap. They made sure that debate would get canceled because it was the foreign policy debate. And everyone in my business and my field knows that the foreign policy debate is the comeback debate for the incumbent president. And they screwed Trump. They rigged it to make sure that Biden would not have to answer for every wrong decision that he literally has made on every major foreign policy issue over the last 45 years. They knew it would have been a bloodbath. They spared him. Now, is Biden mentally competent? No. Is Biden too old to be president? Yes. Is Biden getting worse? Half. Yes. 3 and 5 say Biden's public lapses are more frequent these days, and the same share view that they are dangerous. So this is really bad. I mean, really bad. We're still laughing stock. Voters do think that Biden helped his son, and over 3 and 4 voters say Hunter is guilty of tax fraud. Nearly 3 and 4 say Hunter should serve jail time if convicted, and that if Joe Biden was helping it, is an impeachable offense. Now, I would ask you, if Republicans went down that road, you think they'd have the support of 75% of the country? No. So while you can get these results, it doesn't make sense. It's not real world. It just doesn't make sense with the real world. Half of voters say Trump committed crimes, and they're split over whether he's a threat to democracy. Yet he's winning 53-46. 53-40, right? Was it Trump plus 5? 53-48 with leaners. You see what I'm talking about? Bias injecting questions can really throw stuff off. 50-50 on whether he's a threat to democracy. So 3% additional think that, and yet are still voting for him. That doesn't make sense. Most voters feel Democrats are using the legal system in a biased way to take out a political opponent. Now, you could argue that's why it makes sense. He may have done it, but they're only going after him because of this. I don't know. I think it's just more likely you just asked a leading, bias, poisoned question, series of them, and you're not going to get an honest answer. All right. There it is. 50-50 on whether he'll be a viable candidate if he is with these cases. And then they're split over whether Trump will be convicted and if his legal troubles are politically motivated. 47% say he will not be convicted. They weren't asked specifically about cases. They were just saying, do you think Donald Trump has committed crimes for which he will be convicted, or do you think he will not be convicted of any crimes? It's a little bit weird of a question. It's 2 questions in one, but you don't have to believe both things to answer one of them a certain way. So, do you think he's committed crimes? You could say yes. Do you think he'll be convicted? You'd say no. You could think he committed crimes, but that he will not be convicted. And vice versa. You can think that he didn't commit crimes, but he will be convicted. They should have separated this. Do you think the prosecutions of Donald Trump are fair and motivated? Majority says they're politically motivated. All right. 3 and 5 voters agree Trump's trial should be moved out of the heavily Democratic jurisdictions to avoid bias. 60% think that there should be changes of venue in Trump's cases. Holy moly. Here we go. Last thing, and then that's it, because we're right up against the clock anyway. Trump and Biden are in a dead heat in a hypothetical situation where Trump is convicted by a jury, okay? The RICO thing makes it 50-50. If the Trump is convicted of the documents case, he still leads by 4. They don't give a damn about that at all. Jack Smith's documents case. The RICO thing makes it 50-50 because it sounds bad. Ditto the Capitol riots of January 6th. All right. So if you would have put in Fannie Willis in there, you probably would have gotten a different response because people would know that name, or at least some of them, and they would be like, this is crap. It's not, RICO crap. No, I don't think I would vote for Biden in that case. Right. And then C is for inciting the Capitol riots on January 6th. I mean, that's about as biased as you can get. The events of January 6th or whatever. The word riot, it's like, whoa. Anyway, it's still just 51-49 Biden, which is not enough. All right, again, this poll was Biden plus 8 or 9 when he won by 4. And 4 or a little bit over 4 is really what Biden needs in order to make sure that he'll secure enough electoral college votes. It's highly, highly unlikely. You're going to get a Trump, Biden, even national vote, and Biden's going to pull out a win. Highly unlikely, folks. Highly. All right. The mood of the country changes that much. You're talking about an election last time that was decided by a handful of votes in multiple states. If the country shifted 4 points to Donald Trump alone, 2 points. Look at C. 2 points. Trump's going to win. So there you have it. All right. So we don't need to go over the Israel-Hamas war. Frankly, we just don't have enough time for it. Maybe we'll talk about its impact on Wednesday a little bit. We'll see what we got. But yeah, we'll just have to see how it goes. But they had machine politics in 2020, and they still only won by a hair. So it's not enough. I'm telling you, it's not enough. If Republicans get their people to the polls, all right, like they did. 2020 was organic. There was no massive get out the vote. It was totally organic, and he still got more votes than any other incumbent president. So, by the way, no president who ever adds votes to his record ever loses, except for Donald Trump. So yet another one of those anomalies because of those machine politics. And it's curious, are they going to have that machine this time? Having to defend places like Virginia? I mean, that's where they did their kickoff. They just put money in Virginia now. They obviously believe that poll. And they have their own, I'm sure, that says it's very close. All right, 159. That's it for us today. That's it for Inside the Numbers with the People's Pundit. Don't forget, like the video, smash that like button. Smash it and subscribe. Public polling project is below. You can always just go to Big Data Poll and find it in the menu. It's right there. Contribute what you can, share it far and wide, help build up the contributor base. All right. And of course, thank you to all our sponsors, Tax Relief Helpers, Freedom Gold USA, and of course, the Wellness Company. Thank you for you guys who purchased them, to support it, and them for supporting us. It's the whole cycle of how it goes around. All right. I'm getting back to my poll, and I will hopefully be able to do, Barnes and I are going to do a show with the poll. It's going to be cool. You guys will like it. I feel like I'm forgetting something, but it is what it is. Keep an eye on my locals feed as always. And don't forget to sign up over there as well. peoplespundit.locals.com. Best place to follow us. We are everywhere, but that's our community. And if you're a supporter, you get to join the book club, which is really cool. The authors of the book club are coming by. I told book club yesterday that this is going to happen. Would be great. But we should wait a little bit until we get through the book, and then we can have like a Q&A with the authors. Be very cool. And people have already begun, and we're chapter 3. People have already begun to amass a great question bank, if you will, of what we're going to ask them. But that was great of them to volunteer to do that. Very cool. But all that, again, is on locals. So don't forget to go sign up. And with that in mind, I'm going to kick rocks. Nothing but love for you. Deuces. As always, we will see you on Wednesday. Thanks for watching Inside the Numbers, folks. Laura? Deuces. Deuces. Don't forget to go to Human Events right now. That's what Laura was saying. Human Events with Jack Posobiec. I'll see you guys over there.